And the way we're doing this here on the show is we're not trying to repeat guys that we've already said. We want to give more depth picks and things like that. So I said, okay, let me force my way into picking Bernard Raymond, the offensive tackle out of Central Michigan. And then I'm scouting him and I'm like, man, I really don't like this pick. I would be telling people lies if I endorsed that the New Orleans Saints need to go after Bernard Raymond as their tackle with pick 16 or 19, whichever pick they had, go after him. I think he is going to be the bust of the first round. Now, when you look at Bernard Raymond's tape, you see the size. He's 6'7". He's massive. He's massive, and he's skyrocketing up draft boards after the post during this draft process. But to me, you look at this guy. He is extremely raw for a first round pick. He's not a spring chicken either. He's turning 25 this year, and he's only got 2 years of experience playing the tackle position. He came to Central Michigan as a tight end. To me, he's a project left tackle. I'm not saying he can't be good, but I'm saying he can't be good. He's going to be a bust. You go from Austria to the MAC conference to the NFL. That doesn't really seem like a good equation to me. And now people will be like, oh, you can't judge him because of the competition he played. But last year, they played Missouri to start the season, and I watched that tape. I watched him struggle against the speed and power of the SEC guys. Then they played LSU. He allowed one of his sacks. Everyone will say, oh, he only allowed one sack last year. Well, that sack came against LSU because he was outmatched against bigger competition, faster competition. He has a tendency to get pushed back. I'm not a big Bernard Raymond fan. I love him as a person. I watched a lot of interviews about him. I was like, oh, this guy seems like a great dude. You know, he's from Austria, a great character guy, but I do not see his skills translating well to be one of the most important positions in the NFL in your starting left tackle. Bernard Raymond's a bust to me.
Yeah, honestly, I believe his counterpart on the right side, I talked about him a few weeks ago, Luke Godecki. I think he's a much better tackle, and I had stuff to say about him that he needs to polish up. You know, between the two, these guys made a pretty good tackle duo. But you know, Bernard Raymond, there's some things that people do like about him. I mean, he's a nice athlete. You know, overseas they play like real football. I'm talking like they put the knees in the back. They don't do all that flag and pass interference. They hit over there, and they're fast and they're quick. And he brought that here. So, but that also goes against him because the reason he's so quick, he's so fast, is his size. And in the NFL, to be a tackle, to protect anyone in the NFL, you got to stack on some size. He's been working on it. He put about 20 pounds on in the past 2 years, but all just the chubbiness. He didn't put it in the strength. He didn't put it in the mass. And that's something that needs to be addressed. And I think I would say my level of bust on him is it's going to take him a lot longer to develop for where you're going to end up drafting him. And that would be my biggest deal.
And that's the problem to me is you're saying it's going to take a while for him to develop. And that's what I mentioned in my notes. He's a project left tackle.
Yeah.
They're going to be taken in the first round here or second round. Even if he falls to the second round, it's fine either way. He's going to be a bust in my opinion, because you're talking about him being a project. He's already going to be 25 at the start of the season. So you're already behind the 8 ball here on some things with all of the way that these line up. And I'm not saying the ceiling for him, everyone's saying the ceiling is super high because of his athleticism. But to me, I don't see it. He's going to be a bust. What about you?
What about me as in my pick?
As in who is your bust in this year's draft? Sorry.
Ooh, Lord, Vinny. You ready to make some headlines? You know,
sorry, I was trying to do the Drake song headlines, nice. But it didn't really work.
No, nailed it.
Been watching a lot of Degrassi.
I felt this way for a lot longer than I realized for who my bust is, and today I'm glad that I'm able to stick to it. My bust is a high-profile player. Everyone's talking about him. He's got the biggest range probably in the draft. Some people think he's a third-round pick. Some people think he's a second-round pick. Some people think he's a top 10 pick and one of the best signal callers in this draft. And that's going to be Kenny Pickett, our baby hands from Pitt. Listen, I'm not hating. It's not an ACC thing. But Kenny Pickett is a one-hit wonder. Kenny Pickett is that dude that drops a hip-hop song that everybody loves, everybody does the TikTok dances to, and then 15 years later, you don't even remember who he was. It may be as quick as 2 years later. This guy was at Pitt for 5 years, and it took until year 5 for him to put up a great season. For him, the reason he's getting the conversation he is because this season got him Heisman-level conversation. To me, that doesn't mean that he's going to be a very solid or very successful quarterback. He's very nervous. He's very jumpy. His feet don't get set. And he's going to make these rookie mistakes where you don't take the sack, you take the interception over and over again because he panics. And that's going to be an issue. We're talking about a guy who in his first 3 years had 39 total touchdowns and 25 interceptions. It wasn't until his last year, everyone. Check it out. It wasn't until his last year that he was able to put up 42 touchdowns. Great season. I don't want to take too much away from him, but he's the type of guy that, one, again, will be a project, and two, I'm not sure that he ever really gets it. Let me, for those people who love PFF and whatnot, this is what PFF has to say about their worry. Where he can improve is his processing speed. He has to speed up his process in the league. He'll work through reads under the assumption that he can always buy himself more time. Ball out has to be his first thought at the next level instead of break the pocket. He has shades of Sam Darnold. Ironically enough, he might be going to Carolina. I'll let y'all figure that one out.
Hey, that's a good. I like that one a lot. I mean, we have it as a joke on here, and I don't really know I guess I'm not as intelligent with the game here to know like what baby hands is. And cheap plug here. Look at Kenny. Look at his hands here. Actual size here. Actual size. Look at those hands. Actual size. So don't. It's a super small, man. That's it. That's it. So I don't hate on that. I will go to the comments here real quick because every time we talk about quarterbacks, Bailey's in here talking shit about Malik Willis. So let's do the quarterback comparison here. Let's talk about these two quarterbacks who are projected as the first quarterbacks off the board, whether it be Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis. It seems like those two guys are the most talked about guys to go first off the quarterback board. Bailey brings up the fact that Malik Willis did not play anybody. He did not have good competition. He had to transfer. He had to go from Auburn to Liberty because he could not do it. So what are your thoughts on this Malik Willis? Like, because people will say, I mean, Bailey in the chat saying Malik Willis will be the bust. So what do you have to say to that?
To channel our guy, Aaron Mukes, we have to stop. We have to stop with this. Just because somebody leaves a school doesn't mean they weren't good enough. Because if they weren't good enough, they wouldn't have been recruited there in the first place. Sometimes these players being asked to wait. Do you know what waiting can do to your draft stock? Let's look at a guy like Jermaine Johnson, who he couldn't hack it at Georgia. No. Look at the defensive players Georgia has going into this draft. They were just super deep. And now Jermaine Johnson's a top 10 pick, more than likely. Malik Willis transferred so he could put something on tape. And what did he do his first season? I think they went 10-3 at Liberty. I think they were being talked about as one of the top 15 teams in the nation. Nobody. He's only shown that he's got one of the best deep balls in this draft. He's only shown that he's one of the most lethal dual threat runners since Lamar Jackson at that point in time. I'm not saying he's as good. He's somewhere in between Lamar and Jalen Hurts. But just because he left and went to a different school, it was so he can put stuff on tape. The fact of the matter is his measurables are better. The way he processes the game is better. And the chip on his shoulder is bigger. Kenny Pickett just had one of his best seasons of his life, was talked about for a Heisman, and all he was talking about is, I told everyone I can do it. You know what I hear about Kenny Pickett? When they say, or it could be this guy going here. I'm not hearing people rave about Kenny Pickett. I'm hearing them say, if they don't take Malik Willis, here's Kenny Pickett. So I'm not worried about this, at all. I don't think Malik Willis is going to be a bust. Do I think he's going to start right then and there? No. But I definitely think he'll pick up the game a lot faster. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. And the thing is if you don't have much the argument for him not playing competition is we have to be better. Give us more stats. Give us more evidence that he's not that guy other than just saying he doesn't play good competition.